10K subs, giving it away. One lucky winner. Could be you. What's good, everybody? My name is Alckemy. Welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about how long your song or your tune should be and whether or not you need to be making these really long pieces of music. In my personal opinion and experience, I've made a lot of different tracks. Some have been a little bit over 6 minutes. I've never made anything over 10 minutes before, but it is a very daunting, rewarding, but daunting skill to achieve in order for us to finish a song of that length and caliber, especially if you've got like all of these different parts and stuff to it. But before I get into how long your song needs to be, I think that it's important to discuss what goes into a finished song in the first place. I like to think about music, pieces of music, as a story. And so every story has a beginning, has a middle, and has an end. And whether or not that directly translates to how you make music, whether it be an intro, main section, outro, and then vice versa, that kind of still stands, right? So I'm going to give you guys 3 reasons why I think that you should make your tunes shorter, but I'm also going to give you a couple of reasons why you might want to focus on making your tunes a little bit longer once you get up to that point. So with all that out of the way, go ahead and feel free to subscribe to the channel, and let's go ahead and talk about this. So one reason that's kind of superficial, but still might be, of importance to you is, for one, attention spans, but also like how long, if you were to play your song out after COVID for a festival, like how much of a tune a DJ would play, right? So imagine like spending all this time making, an 8-minute track and the DJ only plays like what, 30 seconds of it. So in that particular sense, depending on what the context of what your creation purpose is supposed to be, whether it's supposed to be club music or, thematic music or whatever, if a DJ only plays 30 seconds of it, then why do you need to go and make, all of this other duration of the song? For your fans, I do think that, there needs to be extra context and stuff for that. But if you think about creating music for that specific purpose, then that can actually alleviate some of the troubles that you may or may not have of just being like, man, I just need to make, a 30-second banger or a 1.5-minute banger, get my point across, and then we're good to go. The second reason is actually coming into something that is for producers that come to me a lot about beat block. Now, I've got other videos on beat block. You can check the link in the cards or whatever for that other stuff. But whenever you have this huge daunting skill of having to make this amount of content, sometimes that can be incredibly overwhelming. And so instead, what you can do is think about focusing on making a single idea as interesting as possible. And once you have something like that, then you can kind of do the supporting means around that, meaning having an intro and then having an outro. For me personally, like, honestly, now these days I'm shooting to make most of my music at like 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes the most. Because what this allows me to do is it helps me focus on that single main idea and making that as cool as possible to where you might want to repeat that, as opposed to making your song too long and wanting somebody to skip over that. If you have beat block, I think one powerful perspective that you can have is how long does it take in order for you to finish a song, or how far do you have to get into it, right? Let's say you've got a main section, an intro, and a bridge. Well, if you think about it and you flesh out that first part, like, you can actually extend some of that and make that into an entire song. So if you're stuck and you're trying to make these 2 ideas connect with each other, because that's how I usually make music, is like 1 section, 2 sections, intro, bridge, outro. Sometimes that can be, sometimes it doesn't work. But likewise, here's the thing, is like, if you do that, let's say you make a bunch of different intros like for the same idea, then something that can be really interesting is that instead of having everything be one long song, you can actually split that into an EP and focus on fleshing out each of those ideas for that main section. But the neat thing about it is that it actually becomes an overall thematic idea, because you're still building off of one base idea or one main selection of sounds. So to me, that's a really cool idea. Conversely, within that, one thing that you can consider is that if you are making a lot of short tunes, then your output is actually going to be a lot more. It's going to be a lot easier, and the chances of you finishing music, I think, are going to be a lot higher, because you don't have to focus so much on creating, minutes to an hour long's worth of content. Look at lo-fi. 1.5 beats, right? 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes, usually tops, then you move on. Those don't usually take as much effort as something for like an IDM tune or a neuro tune or even a classical tune, a rock tune, anything else. So sometimes keeping it simple can actually be incredibly beneficial for your productivity. Another good example that I think that for those of you who produce bass music is Copycat's Drunk. It's one of my favorite tunes. It's really short, but if you go and you listen to it, then there's a whole lot of like just nothing but banger within it, but it's got a really short intro and it's got a really short outro with, Copycat's signature thing that he does, and then he kind of gets to the point. And that's kind of something that I think that we can all take inspiration from, of just getting to the point within our music. Now, that's not to say that you shouldn't write long music. I'm just saying that this is a perspective that you can use if you are having trouble writing music right now, or if you've got a deadline, or if you're just trying to, you know, turn out and practice, I guess, like a particular genre, like I am. I've been really focused on making halftime lately, and I'm terrible at it, but I'm working on it. So sometimes making these shorter ideas can kind of help me kind of practice as far as that goes. If you have a story that you want to tell that has a lot of different chapters, I think, to it, then sometimes that can be a good reason. If you write a piece of music and you have something else to say, and it comes naturally, then I definitely think that you should go for it, because that kind of alludes towards that story. However, there's nothing wrong with thinking about being efficient with the way that you make music and also the length that you make music. For me, I always want to make things as interesting as possible. I don't want to make somebody listen to a bunch of my music and then want to change the song. I'd rather capture them for as long as I possibly can, and then let them move on, because they're going to anyways. You can't control people. You have to let them go. You must let them be. So anyways, those are kind of my thoughts on how long your tune should be. Just make a beginning, middle, and end. It could be 30 seconds if, you know, you get your point across. So don't worry about, you know, how long this should be, whatever. Take inspiration from a radio edit. It's usually like, what, 3 minutes, I guess? So with all that, I'm curious to know what your thoughts are regarding the subject, and I'm always open to a discussion that you guys can leave in the comments. If there's another topic that you'd like me to cover, then also leave that in below, and let's have a discussion. Thank you guys so much for watching my content, and I will see you in the next video.